So what's going on, guys? DIY Dan, and this is kind of an episode of Backroads, Arizona again. I added the 1.25" receiver hitch so I could put my bike rack on the back of my RZR, because we've gone to a couple places where there's been some wicked downhill runs, but I don't have the stamina to go back up. So this way the wife can ride the RZR, I can ride my bike down, get to the bottom of the hill, throw the bike on the RZR, and take off. So I was able to mount my receiver hitch to my cage that I got from Twisted Alloy in Goodyear, Arizona. So obviously you might not have the same kind of roll cage that I have, but you might be able to come up with some ideas to mount a receiver hitch on yours. So let's get to it. So this is an old 1.25" receiver hitch I had laying around. So I just did an internet search of tubing clamps or roll cage clamps to find these half moon bolt-on clamps to mount the receiver hitch. You just need to measure the outside diameter of your roll cage to figure out what size you need. So I put my 2 half moon clamps on the roll cage where I wanted the receiver to sit, and then I measured top and bottom so I could make my cuts. So I used a grinder with a cutoff wheel to make these cuts. Then I flipped it 90 degrees each way and cut straight across the bottom and top of the tubing. Then I cut the back of the tubing connecting the 2 cut lines. After finishing cutting my hitch, I set it in place and marked out where I needed to round it out so it would fit around the clamps nicely. Using a grinder and a flapper wheel, I ground down and rounded out my hitch to match the contour of my half moon clamps on the roll cage. So this was a relatively slow process because I ground a little bit, tried it, ground a little bit more, tried it again. I did not want to undersize it for where I wanted it to sit on the roll cage. Make sure you disconnect the battery before doing any welding on the vehicle. So I zip tied some cardboard up in place, which isn't the best material to use, but it did work to protect the roll cage and the rest of the RZR while tacking on the receiver hitch. After throwing a couple tacks on the hitch to the half moon clamps, the cardboard will catch on fire eventually, but it is easy to put out. It will not flame up quickly. After tacking the hitch in place, I removed the cardboard and took off the half moon clamps, tapped the hitch up and out, and then refitted it one more time to make sure that it was where I wanted it, before taking it off and welding the rest of it on the ground. So after welding the receiver hitch the rest of the way and sanding it down and painting it, I went ahead and put it back in place. I went ahead and put my half moon clamps on and tightened the Allen heads down. Now what I did have happen to me, guys, is I had a piece of slag get in the threads on one of the clamps. Then trying to clean it out with a tap, I busted the tap in the threads. So I was able to get the broken tap out of the hole without damaging the threads, but that took a lot of time and energy. So make sure you time your clamps accordingly so your weld is not next to the bolt holes. Now I mounted this receiver hitch really high on the cage on the back of the RZR because I did not want to have a clearance problem when I was riding with or without the bike on there. So I threw one of my mountain bikes on the rack and took it for a spin around the block, and it held up really well. Now I do have a strap on each tire and wheel and then one up on the main frame as well. We did go to Sedona and I rode Schnebly Hill down from I-17 into Sedona while the wife followed me in the RZR. Then we threw the bike on the rack and went and did the Broken Arrow. The Broken Arrow has a lot of steep rock ledges. I never had a problem with clearance, and I had somebody following me to verify that. If you haven't been to Sedona, I do recommend doing both of those trails. So I just wanted to show you guys a quick clip of me riding down Schnebly Hill Road on my mountain bike. This video is in real time to show you the type of terrain that the RZR handled the bike on the rack coming back up this trail when we were done for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Later.